and welcome to the True North Show. I am your host, Megan North, and I would like to thank our sponsors of the show, Quantum Awakening, Beth Lewis, Anne C. Clark, and our lovely guest who paid to be featured on this episode. Today, I am joined by an incredibly inspiring woman who I've had the pleasure of knowing for about 3 weeks now. Chris Brandell is an intuitive abstract artist whose minimalist compositions are intimate expressions of her interaction with the natural world, exploring the dynamic interplay between presence, intuition, and quiet space. Her limited palette and the texture and marks she makes are informed by the things she loves found near her studio. So shells, driftwood, pieces of concrete, and wire, and more. Chris also feels the energy connected to the words, quotes, and poetry, music, and lyrics. She represents these physical and heartfelt inspirations abstractly with oil paint and a variety of drawing media on large-scale two-dimensional surfaces. She emphasizes the authenticity of intuition over planning, believing that a painting's truth lies in its lived discovery, not in the mind's design. Fundamentally, Chris paints about all types of love: spiritual, romantic, platonic, and self-love. She is interested in the idea that divine perfection, essentially the ultimate form of love, exists in every aspect of life. Her mantra is do what you love and forget the rest. And this is the truth of Chris's work. No matter where it takes her, it is always about love. Welcome to the show, Chris. I'm so excited that you're joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan. I'm delighted to be here.
Gosh, what an introduction. I mean, I love the work and the artwork that you do. It's incredible. But was it really difficult or is it difficult to put it into words about the art that you do and what it actually means?
It's not really anymore so difficult for me, but it used to be. It was years before I could really figure out sort of what I was painting about. I knew the whole time, but I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know what my artist statement was, and one day it just kind of all came together. I was thinking about this idea of divine perfection and love and creation and, how we were all made as creators. And it just kind of all came together for me at one moment. I literally think it was like 20 years of thinking about it. And then in one day I had it, Yeah. And so now I can really write about it. Like the words that you were reading come very easily to me. And because it's really true for me, that is who I am and what I do. I noticed on your heading when the show was introduced, I think one of the phrases, it almost brought tears to my eyes, was the first phrase that came, your soul knows what to do, or something like that is what it said. And that is just so true. And it's so true for me. And I feel that when I'm working. And so the words come easily now because of that, right? Because I know what it is that I'm doing and why and how.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I could imagine that you would have two types of people who, okay, let me rephrase that. I would imagine that people who love art, some are just, I love what I see and that's it. But then I would imagine that there are others that are like, well, what inspired you and why did you paint it like this? So I suppose having a narrative is actually important for those people.
It is. And there's really sort of a third option too. There's people who just look at it and say, I love it. There's people who look at it and say, tell me what it means. If I feel something, tell me what it means. And then there's both of your examples. And then there's the third person who says, I don't know what it means, but I'm really in touch with this piece. I want to take this piece home. I feel something, right? So the words help all three of the situations. It's interesting. Sometimes I don't like to tell people first what it means to me. I want them, I'll sort of, if I can engage with them, I'll ask them, what is it? Tell me what it means to you before I tell you. Because sometimes if I say my meaning, it's completely different from what was going on in their life and their brain and how they're attached to it. And I don't want that, right? I want my work to feel authentic to you, whatever you're feeling in the moment, right? So one way that I've bridged that gap, really, because it's hard for many people, it's hard to look at a piece of, a large piece of art that just has some marks, and sometimes they're pretty odd and random, and to look at that and say, what in the heck is this about? So one way that I've sort of bridged that gap is my connection to words. I feel a lot of energy with words, whether they're lyrics or poetry or just random writing sometimes. And so I found that if I pulled phrases from my favorite poems that were meaningful to me, that I felt the energy of in the piece, it gave a little hint sometimes about what the piece was about, or at least it led people down a certain path about it. So that's one way that I think that people can kind of get a feel for my work, because they can read a title that is more than just one word, mostly, and say, oh, I know that phrase, or that feels good to me, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I suppose at the end of the day, if they love it and they've got their own interpretation, it doesn't matter. Like, it's about them anyway, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, in fact, I want people to have their own interpretation. I want them to love it in their home, in their space, for their reason. Artwork lights up our spaces, right? It brings energy into our homes. And if we're attached to it for our own reasons, that's a really good thing. That makes the space you live in feel great, So yeah, I do. I want people to have their own interpretations, for sure.
Yeah. So let's go back to where it all started. So what was the defining moment that led you to pursue this true passion and purpose that you have?
I knew for a long, long time that I wanted to really be a full-time artist and I live in Marco Island, Florida, which is a beautiful place in the US, an island. It's a resort island. It's gorgeous. Big beach. And I knew that I wanted to do that for years, maybe 20 years. But it seemed very, very, very far away. I was working in business. I owned a business with another woman, a very good friend of mine. And that was what we were doing. That was what we were all supposed to do with our lives, and that's what we were doing. And I'm very successful at it. And we were in the Washington, D.C. area, in the capital. And I had a very bad car accident. It was unexpected. I got T-boned by a dump truck. My car got pushed 20 feet into the woods. It crumpled up like a little matchbook. And I walked away from the accident, bruised up, obviously, but to the hospital, walked away. But that moment of being scared, when I thought, I'm about to die, as I saw this dump truck coming at me, I thought, I'm about to die. And you don't think what you think you're going to think. What came across my mind was just, please don't let this hurt. If I'm about to die, please don't let this hurt. But after, when I was sitting, I survived it, right? And after, I was sitting in the hospital, and I thought, my gosh, this is my wake up call. Like, life has to be more about what got me to this moment. What am I doing? I have a chance to really live here. I almost had a chance not to be living anymore. So that really was a very particular moment where I made the decision that it wasn't going to be some far off dream, that I was going to actually live what I felt like my purpose was. The timing was synonymous, because my business partner she was a little bit younger than me, and she really wanted to raise her family. So we made a decision to sell the company. We always thought we would, but maybe we both agreed that it was time to sort of speed up that timeline a little bit. And it actually happened much faster than we expected. So I really do believe it was the right thing to happen.
Yeah.
And from there, I found the place in Florida that I wanted to live here, built my home, and became a full-time artist. As soon as I actually became a full-time artist as soon as the day I stopped working in the business. So
wow.
But moved south to Florida and to start my life in a place where I felt like I was near a lot of spirituality, near a lot of people that are here because they're happy and they want to feel good and they want to feel connected to good energy. And I feel that here. So it really practice.
And when you had your business with your partner, were you already painting? Like this wasn't just one day you weren't an artist and the next you were.
No. I've been an artist for 30 years. So, actually longer than 30 years. I'm a little older than I like to admit. But I've been an artist for most of my life. And I really became, much more publicly known as an artist in 2012. I started doing some shows and, I don't want to say I got discovered. That's the wrong thing to say, but I was able to make a name for myself, and even as a part-time artist. So, I didn't start from scratch when I became full-time. I already had my feet wet, and knew what I was doing. It's a question of being able to really dedicate my time to it.
Right. And sometimes when I talk to people about when they step into that path of their true north, following their passion and purpose, they often talk about the fact that they really needed some courage or confidence to step into that space. Did you need that, or were you just intuitively guided by the universe that this is what you needed to do?
I think I was more intuitively guided, but I think I needed courage to really understand what that was. Leaving the business world, I thought I was going to be a business focused artist somehow. My brain had been in a thinking, ego, competitive business world for so long that I thought I would just be painting full time, but all the same truths would still exist.
Yeah.
My body knew something different, and my painting knew something different, but my mind really didn't. And so I really did need some courage, I think, to stick with it through some frustration of I was uncomfortable at first. The transition was difficult. It was difficult to sort of really figure out that I loved this new thing as much as I wanted it. I imagined it differently than it was. Right. And so, I required some courage to really figure out, the depth of my purpose and that I had to let go of these other ways of being and thinking. And I'm very, very, very happy that I did, but it did take some work. It wasn't immediate. It wasn't like just came into it. And it did take some courage because there was a lot of sort of fear of loss, or even some loss about getting rid of these old ways that I had worked and behaved and been with people and being sort of my new self. Right.
Yeah. You were stepping into a new identity.
Absolutely. And I actually lost some friends along the way, people that knew me and could only accept me in an old way. Versus getting their arms around the way I was now. Right. And that's okay because that's, I think, what was meant to happen. Right. And I've made so many new friends, in my new space. But yeah, it was a big change. It was difficult. Yeah.
And did the way that you approach the art or the art that was coming from you, had that changed as well?
It does. And it did. Again, there's a real difference between thinking about making work and doing what I do now, which is really don't think about what I'm making. And that's hard to explain, right? How can you not think about what you're doing? But really, there's this, before there was sort of this plan and I would try to achieve a certain thing, right? And now I just step up to the canvas. I may do some things to check in with myself and make sure I'm present, sort of feel the energy in my body and, say that I'm present and, kind of get with my surroundings. And I step up to the canvas and I make marks and, depending on what stage a painting's in, it may be painting, it may be actually drawing, it may be anything that I sort of pick up in my hand and do. But it doesn't require a plan and it doesn't require thinking. And in fact, when I'm thinking, because I'm human, my brain wants to take over sometimes. When I'm doing that, I'm usually not very happy with what I've done in the studio. And in fact, sometimes I'll even be mad, I'll even get mad at myself. So, I know when those moments approach that I just need to let it go, take a break, go take a walk, go do something else. I have a dog who keeps me busy, go do something else and then come back. And when I come back, I'll be able to be in the right sort of headspace to do what it is.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So have you had moments where you've done a piece and you've kind of stepped out of that space and looked at it and thought, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I've gotten there? Like you've been so enthralled with it?
Oh, every day. I mean, it happens to me constantly. Years ago, a woman friend of mine, when I was really struggling with this thinking part of my brain and trying to figure out who I was as an artist and there was all this struggle around it because my thinking brain was fighting with my intuition. I know that now, that's what was going on, but I didn't know that then.
Yeah.
And she said, Chris, blindfold yourself with something and go up to the canvas and make some marks for 10 minutes and then take the blindfold off and see what you did. And I resisted that idea for a while. And now I know when you resist something, it's usually because you're meant to try it, and finally I did pick up, I had a t-shirt laying in the studio and I picked up the t-shirt and just tied it around my head to block my vision. And I had a piece of charcoal in my hand and I went up to the canvas and started making marks and, felt kind of silly. But when I took the blindfold off, I created something that I actually liked. And I said, oh my gosh, this is what it's all about. This is not seeing, not thinking, and just letting your body make the marks that it wants to make, letting your intuition do that, is really what creates artwork. And so, for me, that's what creates artwork. And so there are many days in the studio, I don't have to blindfold myself anymore because I sort of know how to be more present now. I'm used to that practice. But days when I'm so in the flow of what I'm doing, to your point, that, when I take a break to go to the bathroom or, to get a drink and I come back, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I do that? It's just incredible. Yeah. So it is a really great experience. And
absolutely,
my favorite pieces have lots of those experiences in them.
I could imagine. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. And so how do you maintain balance and prioritize your mental health in the midst of pursuing this dream and this journey and these passions and purposes that you have?
Yeah. It's a great question because I'm a person who wants to work 8 hours a day. I'm a person who wants to achieve things, right? And so, I can't do that. My intuition simply can't, take that kind of work. It's not the way it works. And so, a couple of things. I definitely prioritize my fitness. I like to feel good. I feel like if my mind and my heart and my soul are going to be working together, everything needs to be healthy and feel good. So I really prioritize my fitness, healthy eating. I try to get good sleep, and I purposefully do those things with some thought so that I can stay healthy and thus put healthy things out onto the canvas. I also meditate. I love there's a particular protocol called theta meditation, which I do very frequently. I probably meditate almost every day. Sometimes it's only for 5 minutes, but sometimes it's longer. And then it's not necessarily before an art session. It may be in the middle of the studio day if I feel like that's what I'm called to do. And so that's important for me too, to just, find some peace, take some quiet moments. I walk a lot and I walk on the beach a lot, which is really, really inspiring for me and just lovely. And then simple things like listening to music. I always listen to music while I'm painting. Sometimes it just keeps my brain distracted enough that I'm not thinking. But it also can be very peaceful. Sometimes I just want to hear something peaceful going on in the background. So that's really nice too.
Yeah.
So and then, obviously socializing and being with friends and, I have a dog that makes me very happy. These are things that, these are things that are not in the studio that are good, and so it's important to be outside of the studio and be healthy and balanced. So so that I have good studio experience too. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Because I could imagine for you, like, I mean, it sounds like from a mental health and well-being point of view, you've definitely got that balance. But I think for you too, it's it's funny, but it's almost opposite to what most people would be managing when they're in the corporate world and sort of, doing things on screen and all of this sort of stuff, that you need to almost have moments of being a 3D human as
Yes.
opposed to going into being intuitive, because you just can't be in that intuitive space all the time, because you'd never be grounded.
No. And it just, you can't hold it that long. Do you know what I mean? Your brain and life generally just won't allow it to happen, and if I do it too long, sometimes I think the universe steps in, somebody will come to my door, like that, knock on my door. So I have to go answer the door. I have to take a break whether I want to or not,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you can't stay just maybe like you can't be operating as a business executive 100% of the time at, the top level. You also can't be in your intuition 100% of the time at the top level. You really do need to have the opposite scenario to help you balance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's incredibly draining, isn't it? Like in that intuitive space as well, it can be.
It is very much. It takes it all out of you. It really takes it all out of you. I often think I'm not very deep emotionally. I don't know that that's actually an accurate statement, but I'm not very demonstrative emotionally. But I am so in the flow space. I'm not sure I need to be ever more demonstrative. I am already that person. It's just not so much about emotions, but I'm definitely in that kind of quiet place a lot, which is good for my work. It's funny, one of my biggest challenges as an artist has really been social media. That's my age, 60, and I never really did Facebook. And so putting myself out there on social media is really hard. I've forced myself to do it over the years, because it's advertising. It's something I need to do as an artist, but it is really, really hard for me. And these days I never scroll. Like if I never had to log on to social media, I wouldn't, it's almost like a loud noise in my head, and I don't want to do it. It's been really hard for me, but I have to force myself to do it because I really do need that exposure. And it's good to communicate with people and all those kind of things. My clients are on social media and they want to ask questions and do whatever, so it's good to have it. But it's one of the reasons that I might not be as popular as some other artists, because I have a hard time putting myself out there.
Yeah.
And you look at my Instagram feed, there's very few pictures of me, it's hard for me to do that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that about a fear of showing up, or is it just that it's just something that doesn't resonate with you?
I think it may be both. I do have a fear of showing up. One of the beautiful things about of painting is that, that's how I show up. I show up in this artwork. And so, there's some safety in that, right? I don't have to know, I'm asking you to take your own interpretation away. I don't have to ever share mine with you, And so I think there is some fear of showing up. I'm not an extroverted person. I'm more introverted, right? And so there is some of that. And it's taken me a long time to really feel confident about who I am, not just as an artist, but certainly as an artist, but also as a person, as a woman. So I'm probably better at it now. I dislike it more. Yeah. And it doesn't resonate with me as much. But I probably am better at the actual putting myself out there now than I have been in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just finding that balance that works for you as well. You're right. At the end of the day, it is about the artwork that you're creating. But I think people do still want to know a little bit about the artist behind the artwork.
No, they do. And that's fair, right? And in fact, that's what you want. You want to say, even I have artists that I collect work from, and I want to know those artists, not because I'm an artist, but because I'm bringing their work into my home. So it is fair. And it's just one of my challenges that I have to work on. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you're alone. I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that.
I don't know. It seems so easy for people that are younger than me. It's just like the way they live. And I wish I could do that,
And, I think it's probably, I'm 51 and I've not grown up with social media.
Right.
And so I think it's also that for us, it's not a natural thing that comes to us. We've had to learn how to be on social media and we've had to learn that, whereas people who are half our age that's just been normal for them.
Right. This always reminds me of a story, a very quick one. I'll tell you. My grandmother, who had plenty of money, had a dishwasher all her life, and she would never use it because she didn't grow up with a dishwasher. She grew up hand washing the dishes. And it was the same thing. Like she said, I just can't use this. The dishes aren't going to be clean. I'm going to put them in this box and close the door, and they're not going to be clean. Right.
Yep.
And so she hand washed the dishes, even though she had a dishwasher. Right. So
yeah. That's actually a very good analogy. That's very,
always makes me laugh.
Yeah. There's so much more for us to explore, but we'll just have a short break and we'll hear from our sponsors and we'll come back and we'll continue this beautiful conversation.
Great.
Thank you. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back, Chris. We are just talking about that balance in relation to showing up on social media and how we, as people who haven't grown up with social media, how we balance that. It's a very interesting conversation, I think. So, Chris, can you share with us a significant challenge that you faced and how you overcame it to stay aligned with your purpose?
Well, it probably is the social media. I don't know if that's really significant by most people's standards, right? But I think one of the complexities of it is that you can become very enthralled with whoever it is that you're following. You see all these beautiful images, every day. You see people's artwork and you see these artists that are amazing. And in my case, follow artists. And so you believe these stories that really aren't true. And they may be completely made up, in your head or whatever, right? Because you're seeing only one version of a person, right? And so the same is happening for me. People are seeing me on social media and, they have their own idea about what the story is. And that's really, I find that really challenging because I want to present myself the right way. But what is the right way, you want to do social media the way everyone says it's supposed to be done, right? Mm-hmm. Which meant reels and, putting yourself out there more. And those things have been very hard for me. and I don't do a lot. I don't think I've ever actually done a reel yet, you know? So, but I'm not, I'll do it someday. I just haven't sort of gotten my arms around that yet.
Yeah.
But how do you use it and still be successful, right? And so I've really been working on that over the last year. I've got quite a following, and I'm very grateful for that, because I don't know what I've done to sort of earn that, you know. I don't have a lot of presence on screen. I just feel like you have to, in my case at least, I have to just present the truth. You know, here's the piece, here's what I'm showing you about it. One of your sponsors, who's a friend of mine, Ann Clark, has been helping me with some of the ways that I can tell my stories and about my pieces, which really does seem to make a difference. And I wouldn't have known that on my own, right? And so I'm comfortable with that. Like, let me tell you about this artwork and my story. But I'm not so comfortable telling you that I went to the park today with my dog, and, you know, and we had ice cream at noon, and, you know, all the things that people put on that are great. I love to watch them, but I don't know how to do that for myself. Right.
Yeah.
It's just space that my brain is in. So it's hard. You know, there's a lot of challenges in art and the art field. But I've sort of am really over them. There's, you know, obviously technical challenge, maybe with materials or things like that. Those are easy and kind of fun challenges. But, you know, there's a lot of challenges in terms of succeeding in the art field. It's hugely competitive in terms of the fact that the field is so crowded. But I think that the more true you can be to your passion and your artwork, the rest of it kind of just falls into place. And that's what I've discovered over time. I've worked really hard over time, and I've sold a tremendous amount of artwork and been very, very successful. But when I'm the most successful is when I don't really think about that, and I just focus on what I'm doing and the beauty of what I'm doing, and the rest all just kind of comes together with it, right? And that's really been a lesson learned for me over time.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that's a really beautiful point that you make, because realistically, you can't be the artist of the 8 billion people in the world, because that just, we're not for everyone. And I think that, you know, and in a lot of industries, you know, in the industry that I'm in, when I'm not doing this, you know, I'm working with clients to help them find their passion and their purpose. And you know, it's a very big, the coaching industry is very big, but, you know, I don't profess to sit here and say that I can help everyone either, because realistically I can't, but also I'm not the right person for everybody. So it's about sitting in that space and just recognizing it and thinking, okay, well, I feel like the right people come to me that need me, that resonate, that, you know, vibrate, and be the same as you with your art. It's the people that really enjoy what you do and really resonate with you that come to you.
That's right. That's right. And one of my art teachers once said, there's always an audience for your art. You may not have them right away today, but there's so many people in the world, there will always be somebody that likes your work. And that really is true. You know, everyone's art will resonate with someone, and that's an amazing thing, you know. So if you focus on what you're doing and the truth of it, and you know, why you love it, then I think people are naturally drawn to it. It's like a magnet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a little bit then the same with the whole social media thing. I mean, realistically, apparently the stats now is that you've got less than 2 seconds to grab someone's attention on social media. So don't agonize over it. Just put something out.
Yeah. If you could just put anything out there, I think, you know, it's just crazy. I just don't understand it. I'm so old school. It's terrible. But it's amazing how many clients, not direct clients, not so much people that have said, I saw you on Instagram, I want to buy a piece of your work, but many clients who have gone to look for me because they saw me on social media. They saw my feed and they go to one of the galleries that represents me and go to find work. So it is a very, very good way to advertise in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not, you can't put an ad in a newspaper around the world, like in every physical
Right.
newspaper in the world. I mean, you could, but that would be an arduous task
Yeah.
and it'd
Yeah.
be expensive. So, and there's definitely benefits to it. I think it's just finding your own balance of what works for you and what works with you, and you just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of my challenges.
Yeah. So, do you think that your path to pursuing your passion and purpose has evolved over time?
I definitely think it has.
Mm.
And I think it's continuing to evolve.
Mm.
No, I don't see my painting as changing very much. The way that I paint, I mean, I may learn some new things and I may, certain days I may create work that looks a little different or even now. So right now I have 21 pieces that I've just released to one of my galleries to take a look at. And in that collection of 21 pieces, some are more, have a foundation that's more white in nature and some are more raw on the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I have days where I do sort of both kinds of things. So I think my painting, is sort of where it is. It doesn't evolve, but I think I am evolving in terms of, what I'm connected to and how to bring that into my world more. I'm very connected to words. And so I started recently, putting some blog newsletters out on my website. It sounds so silly, but I found that I really enjoyed doing a little bit of writing. Now that shouldn't surprise anyone who knows me because like I say, I'm so connected to words. But to really think about them and write about my intuition or about the things I'm feeling is really a really kind of a great experience. And so I feel like that's a way that I'm evolving, really more verbiage in to not just describe what I'm doing, but just to explore more topics, more things, just to explore more, right? The way that I paint, I'm sort of writing, and it's a pretty interesting kind of way that I'm evolving that I've never done before. So I do think that's happening. I also think that, the more you practice anything, probably, but the more that I practice, my being in my intuitive space and painting and writing and these things, just the more opportunity I have to discover the connectivity associated with those things. I feel very connected energetically. I feel very, things happen during the day when I'm out and about, and I know that I'm connected to something bigger than myself, right? And I think that's possible because I do what I do, because I allow myself to be open in this intuitive space. And so I'd love to think that I'm evolving that way too, and becoming more connected to things that are greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
Something pretty powerful about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do you get your messages? Are you like clairaudient or clairvoyant or just clairsentient?
I don't know. I don't know if any of those words really are all the time. But I get them. It's more visual, I think, probably. Okay. It's not only I'll be asking a question of, the universe. I'll be asking something out loud when I'm driving, and I probably many of your listeners know what angel numbers are. I know you know what they are, and so I'll be asking a question out loud, and then a truck will pull in front of me that has angel numbers on it that, I interpret as an answer to my question, so those kinds of things happen. Also, just sometimes they'll just be, I will have a vision, not sort of a vision of the future or something like that, but just a vision of something that I need to be thinking about or a space that I need to be in. In my brain, I'll have a thought pattern that will arise. And I know it's not, it's definitely from inside of myself, but it's from a place that is not necessarily always accessible. And so it's kind of, I feel like it's connected to something bigger, or connected to, something that I don't quite understand yet.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I think it happens.
Yeah.
I've always believed that there are people, like, and many more, yourself included, but many more than us, right? That really are, I mean, the word psychic is an overused word, right? But it really is true. People really do have connections. They use a part of their brain that we don't, have access to. And so, I'd like to think that I'm evolving along that path somewhere. But it definitely, I think the reason is because I'm in this space that I'm in terms of where I've taken my painting and allowing my intuition to sort of take over. That I'm using that part of my brain and that accessing those powers that are greater than me.
So you'd probably almost be in that channeling space, wouldn't you, when you're putting something out there that you're being really guided by, not necessarily that thought pattern, but whatever's coming through you, you're just channeling what's coming through you.
It is. That's what I always say. I always use that word because that's exactly what it feels like. I always say that I'm a channel from something greater onto the canvas. And what I believe and what I desire, what I want is that, and I'm going to call it love because all those things feel like love to me in one fashion or another. And I believe, like, if I could channel that love off of the canvas onto someone else who's experiencing it, then that's it. Like, that, there isn't anything greater than that, right? Like, I am being used for, that is the purpose of my life. That's the purpose, So if that's my role in it, like, wow, that's just an incredible gift. And I'm so grateful to experience it. That's all I need. All I need is to be a channel. That's the great thing, it's really great.
And it's quite difficult to put, I guess, into, I always say it's like human words, right? Because and for you're actually putting it on canvas. For me, when I'm doing a reading, I just get so much. And sometimes if I logically thought of what's coming through me, I'd be going, I can't say that. I can't, or that doesn't make sense to me. But when I just say what's coming to me, and then I'm saying, does that make sense? And clients are like, yes, and I think, oh, okay, well then there's no logic to me, but it just has to come through me. And that's just the message that just gets shared.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you experience this, but I have a constant dialogue going on in my head all the time. And I don't know sometimes whether that dialogue is just an overactive brain. I'm sure some of it is that on my part, or if there's some, if I'm actually getting messages or, other stimuli are, going on in my brain and I'm connected to. Sometimes I take those messages out, right? And I work with them, but there's always something going on, in my brain that way. And so, this is the way I'm doing it now. So, if I get to evolve and do it some more or differently, I'm all for that. That's really great. Yeah, it's really a great gift.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's beautiful. So we talked before in relation to your mental health and well-being, and you were talking about walking on the beach and doing some meditation. Are they the ways that keep you grounded? Is that what really grounds you? Or have you got any particular techniques that can bring you back to the present moment?
Yeah, one of the things I just do is really little simple thing a lot of the times during the day. If I get distracted, I'll just stand very still and try to listen for 4 or 5 sounds. Really, what are the sounds I can hear in my space with my eyes closed? And then can I feel, will sound funny perhaps, but can I feel the energy field in my feet? I try to believe that I can feel inside my feet, the energy field touching the ground or touching, the floor. And that, it may only take 5 minutes, right? But that little thing will really keep me grounded during the day.
Yeah.
And just, sometimes just saying to myself, I am present. I am present. I am present. It'll bring me right back to where I need to go. They're very simple. They're simple little things, but they really work. And it's such a part of my day and part of my process I think that's why they really work, because it's not, I don't have to think about it to do it. I know when I need to do it and I just do it,
Yeah.
and so it really
Yeah.
does work really well.
And I love that you just said that we were talking about grounding, but then you're talking about, when you're saying I am present. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've never thought of it before, but I actually think that being grounded is being present, because
It is.
you're here, you're in the moment, you're physically and mentally thinking about being in that moment. So you are present, you are grounded.
Yeah, that's the way I think of it anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, when I meditate, I have to actually physically bring myself back into my body and into the ground, right? Because you don't want to be floating out there. You'll get, God knows what will happen. But during the day, I just think about saying that I'm present, and being present is grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. And so what advice would you give to someone who is just starting to explore their passion and their purpose?
I think probably the most important thing is to not give up. It sounds cliche, right? But there's so many forces against it, I think. There's so many things in your life, and maybe it's just your egoic brain, but there's so many things that will want to stop you from exploring your intuition or your soul calling or your purpose. And you just have to have the courage to say, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Maybe the hardest time to do that is when you're faced with, but I also need to make money and pay my rent and buy groceries, right? But just don't give up on that idea, because it really requires you to be committed to it. But once you are, it takes over, and it's such a beautiful part of our lives that I think everyone can be lucky and explore it. Everyone has it, and everyone can explore it if they choose, right? And so if you are choosing to do it, just don't quit, because the more that you focus on it, sooner or later, it really will just become you, and you will evolve into it and to the space that you need to be in. That's the best advice I can give, right?
Just, I love that.
Trust it, trust that you're meant to be thinking about it for a reason, and you're meant to be thinking it for a reason.
And I think that the world has evolved too, in the sense of a lot of people, they call it, I've got a side hustle, or those, and it's great, but start it as a side hustle. Just at least start it. And if you've got your full-time job because you've got bills to pay, that's fine. But at least start chipping away at it and having it there, that you're because that for you in particular, like it manifested enormously for you, that you, from a business perspective, then could step straight into that because you already had it there, and it already existed. So the universe knew.
Yes. I really believe I created it this whole time while I was working and sort of ignoring it and doing other things. In the back of my mind, I was building it and creating it. And I did. I'm 100% convinced I manifested. I really believe that you can truly do anything you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, that gave me the faith to know that anyone can do anything they want to do. And that doesn't mean there won't be work around it, whatever that thing is. But you really can. If you believe it, it is already coming true, and it's a question of whether you want to pursue it or not. And so
I love that. Yeah.
Manifesting is so powerful. Powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next on the canvas for you, so to speak?
Well, I'm very excited. So I almost kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit ago when we were talking about my writing. I'm very excited. I'm putting together a coffee table book, which I hope will come out in 2026. I know it'll be in 2026. It'll be a lot of artwork. Maybe some pieces that have never been seen before from my private collection, and writing around those things, a lot of the storytelling. I'm pretty excited about it. I've been working on it now, and I'm maybe 3/4 of the way through. So I'm excited about that. Also hoping that sometime in the next 6 months or so, I'll be having a solo exhibition. Again, I haven't done one of those since I've been in Florida, and I'd really like to do that. So I hope that will happen, and a lot more painting in the studio. So that's that's where I am right now. Maybe some more, I might try also, this may not resonate with you, but I'm on the west coast of Florida, where I live. And so the gallery that represents me is on the west coast of Florida also. But I'd like to have some representation on the east coast of Florida.
Right.
So because it's a just completely different market there.
Yep.
And I'm going. That's one of the things that I have planned, hopefully.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to have you back on the show once the book is launched, because that will be a great conversation to have around that.
I would love that. And I'm really enjoying writing about the things that we're talking about, and other things too. So it's really, I'm really enjoying that a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, it's exciting. So can you believe that we've actually only got a couple of minutes left?
So fast.
I told you. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I love to ask all of my guests before we finish this conversation. So what is one lesson or truth that you've learned on your journey that you wish you had known earlier?
I think that to just I said it earlier, and it's actually in my bio, but I'm going to say it again because it really is the truth. Love what you do and forget the rest. I wish that for all the years that I was focused on many things other than what I loved, that I was really just focused on what I loved. And maybe that couldn't have happened. It had to happen. I believe things happen the way they do for a certain reason, right? And so maybe I couldn't love it, what I'm doing as much, if I hadn't done something else that was so the opposite. But just for me, loving what you do, being love, and expanding love and channeling love to other people, that's it for me, right? That's what I wish I had done that more all my life.
Yeah, I love that. Love what you do and forget the rest. It's simple. That's easy.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
So much of our lives, we don't love what we do. That's really the thing. People, I myself, I was in a job. It was a fantastic job. I made tons of money. I loved everything about it, but I really didn't love it. It was a good job, but it wasn't my love.
Yeah.
So, it's about find your purpose. Just find your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and just giving us a beautiful insight into this incredible work that you do. I've really enjoyed listening to how the process works, and because I've looked at a lot of your art and now I feel like I understand it a lot more. So thank you for sharing all of that with us.
I hope something made sense in what I said. So
it all made sense. You are amazing.
Thank you so much for on the show. It was really lovely to talk to you.
You're welcome. And I'd also like to thank all of our amazing and dedicated audience, our supporters, our sponsors, and I hope that you all have an amazing rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you again, Chris.
Thank you so much, Megan. Talk to you soon.